everyone. So today I've decided I'm going to just make a little video about my experience with the combined contraceptive pill, the coil and the mini pill. I suffer with polycystic ovary syndrome and also endometriosis and IBS, and they're three conditions that take quite a lot of my life away from me and affect the way I do everyday tasks and things like that. So the pill has played a big part in these conditions, in making them worse, making them better. And over the last few years I've tried lots of different things to try and reduce these conditions and make them more bearable. So I've been on a few different pills. I've been on Levest, Loestrin, Celeste, Loestrin again, Celeste again, Gederol again, the coil, and also desogestrel, which is the mini pill. So most of them are combined pills. Then you've also got the coil, which is progesterone only, and then obviously the mini pill, which is progesterone only too. They all had a different effect on my body. The first three that I tried were quite similar, so I've put them all into one kind of bracket. But yeah, when I was trying out different pills, I found it really helpful to watch YouTube videos and to see what other people felt about them. And obviously everyone is different. I am not a doctor. You need to speak to a doctor about these things, but I just thought that I'd put my experience out there because I found it really helpful for myself when I just wanted to kind of put my mind at ease of trying these new things, because obviously they can have an impact on your life and change kind of who you are while you're on them. So I felt better knowing that other people had also tried them and hearing from them. So I just thought I'd do the same for you guys. So yeah, I'll get started. So I'm going to jump in and start talking about my experience on Levest, Celeste and Loestrin. They're all combined pills. They all have a different mix of estrogens and progesterone in them. And I think there's also different milligrammage, especially of the Loestrin. I think there's 20 and there's 30. So this is just kind of a rough overview of them. I don't remember specifically which ones I was on. Levest was the first pill I was put on. I was put on that when I was 14, purely because my periods were painful and really long. I had only just started my periods, so looking back, they probably could have given my body a little bit of more of a chance of getting caught up on them. But it turns out the contraception side of it also kind of came in handy at that age. So it was kind of became a benefit of that. So when I was taking Levest, it was microgynum, and then they changed it to Levest. It was the same things in it, just a different brand name. When I was on it, I didn't really notice a difference, but I think I just really started puberty. So in terms of like my hormones and stuff, I don't think I'd really gotten used to how my body felt and symptoms and all of these things anyway. So when I was actually on Levest, I don't remember having any specific issues with it. I remember sometimes taking it back to back to skip my periods, but mostly I can't remember any significant side effects apart from low mood. Now I think it was difficult to tell whether low mood was caused by the pill or just the fact that I was 14. And you know, I just changed schools. It was one of those times in your life, you know, you're a teenager, things change. But then my sister came to me and said, "You're on the crazy pill. They're calling it the crazy pill." So lots of people were aware that that pill in particular was causing like mental health conditions and like depression in people, and it kind of became quite an unknown thing at that time. So I decided to stop it. So I went to my sexual health clinic, waited for like 4 hours to be seen, and they put me on Loestrin. Loestrin I remember being absolutely fine on. Again, I was on it for quite a while, but I changed. I don't remember the specific reason I changed, but I think it was probably for low mood again. I remember assuming that it would just be the pill that was causing the low mood, because you do that, I guess. You're on a pill, you're going to assume that it's that that's causing the problems. So I went back probably after a year, or like 9-10 months, and I asked to change again. So this time they put me on Celeste. Now I was older at this point. I was 16 or 17 when they put me on Celeste. I was with a boyfriend. I was kind of happy just trying what I needed to try. But again, my mental health was not great at that time. Now that was probably due to the fact I was 16, 17, but how will we ever know? So I took Celeste, and actually I stayed on Celeste until I was 20. Yeah. So when I was 20, I turned to my boyfriend and I said, this is a new boyfriend, and I started dating him when I was 18, and I'm still with him now, so all going well. I turned to him and I said, my IBS is really bad. Now my IBS started when I was 18, so around the time I started Celeste, just a bit later. And I was like, it's really bad. I don't know what to do. I've tried all the diets and I just can't do it anymore. Now he was probably fed up of hearing about my bowel movements, but he said, maybe it's the pill. And I sat there and I was like, hang on a minute. I've never thought that it could have been the pill. So I thought about it and I did some research and I looked into it, and this is kind of when I began my obsession with researching, but in a positive way, not in a weird anxiety way, but just like researching my body and actually how it works. So I did a lot of research into hormones and IBS and things like that, and it turns out hormones can affect your bowels quite a lot. So the pill, deep down in the web, I found research that the pill can make IBS worse. Again, I'm not a doctor, but also doctors tend to brush this thing aside, that the pill could affect IBS. So just know your body. For me, I had a feeling that it could have been the pill, and it was. So I stopped taking Celeste and I went back on Loestrin. Now I knew I'd been on it before, but I couldn't remember why I'd come off it or anything. But in between switching those pills, I took a whole year without anything. So in that year, I had the best time and the worst time. So in terms of it being the best time, I just felt myself. I was finally allowed to be me. My mental health got better. My sex drive increased. I just felt good about myself. I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed not having to rely on medication, because, you know, I wasn't brought up that way. I was brought up in a much more herbalistic, homeopathic way. So for me it was a good time to be doing this, but unfortunately it was the year I realised I had polycystic ovaries. So coming off the pill, all my hormones kind of set to like the level they were supposed to be at, I guess, for my body. I started losing hair on my head, and I've got a lot of hair anyway, but it was very long at this point, so it was noticeable when I was losing so much of it. And I started getting spots, and as a teenager I'd never had spots ever, so it was kind of weird for me. I don't really care that much about my appearance, like my face and stuff, but I don't wear makeup, so I didn't have any way of covering the spots or anything, so I did notice them more. And then I started getting really hairy on my body. Now I'd always been hairy, like, well, that is a hairy arm for you right there, that's a lot of hair. But all over my body the hair increased, so like around my boobs, on my chest, on my tummy, it increased more and got thicker. for me, I'm quite a body hair positive person, but it did make me feel a little bit weird. So I got the test done because my sister already had been diagnosed with PCOS. So I got the test done and it came back as me, yes, I have it. I had cysts on my ovaries, and the blood test came back as like high androgens, so that's like testosterone kind of levels. So they said the only way you can help this is going on the pill. And I thought, well, hang on a minute, I don't really want to go back to going on the pill again. So I took some time to think about it. I did some more research into polycystic ovaries, natural ways of helping. So you've got things like evening primrose oil, other vitamins you can take. You can change your diet. You have to reduce your sugar levels because you can become insulin resistant. My sister luckily had done a lot of this research already, so she passed it on to me. And also my dad is really helpful with research, so he did loads of his research, sent me loads of links and videos. So again, YouTube saved me there. But I just thought I'd leave it for a little bit and have another think about how I feel. But then unfortunately later that year was when my cramps started. So I'd always had painful periods, like unbearable, but they started getting worse. I couldn't manage the pain at all. I was up in the middle of the night, like walking around. I couldn't sit down, I couldn't lie down. No painkillers would touch it. I'd have a hot water bottle, and it was horrific. Like I can't even explain it. It was horrible. And I also started having painful sex. Now, at first, I didn't realise that it was painful sex. I thought maybe it was just a bit deep. You know, maybe something's changed in my body. I started thinking maybe my cervix is low, because I just thought that would make sense. It started getting worse, and the pain started lasting for longer. So I found myself actually just avoiding sex, which when you're in a long-term relationship is like good and bad, because luckily, like, he can understand. He doesn't want me to be in pain. He's very understanding. We're in a comfortable position. We've kind of got over the honeymoon period years ago, but at the same time, that's your connection, and for us it was a big connection. It was important to us, as it is for lots of people. So it didn't feel right, and it started really affecting me and what I was doing. So I had to think about it, and I thought I'd better go to the gynecologist. So I went to a gynecologist near me, and it wasn't the best experience. He wasn't very, like, considerate of my pain and what I was saying, and also just the fact that I was a young girl. And he basically just said, yeah, you've got vaginismus, which, if you don't know, is like painful sex, but it's where your like vagina contracts. And I said, well, no, I don't. And I knew I didn't have that, because it's not that kind of pain. It was more of a deep pelvic pain, like a period cramp. So I was like, I don't know about that. And then he was like, well, get some dilators and stuff. So I looked at them and I thought, well, that's a bit expensive for basically a mini dildo that gets a bit bigger. So again, I thought about it, and I ended up going to my GP, and they said, maybe try the pill again. There was no, oh, maybe it's endometriosis, let's look into that. They just said, oh, we'll put you back on the pill, it will help. So I said, okay, fine, I'll go back on the pill. So they put me on low estrogen again. Yes, low estrogen again, which was okay. I stayed on it for a little while. It had ups and downs again, which I'll go through the side effects in a minute that I had. But in terms of the painful sex, it didn't make that go away. The painful periods, yeah, because obviously you just get withdrawal bleeds with the pill rather than like a real period. So that was better, but the painful sex was getting worse, and I was finding it really hard to talk to my boyfriend about it. So luckily my parents are really easy to talk to. We've been brought up in that way where it doesn't matter whether it's your mum or your dad, you talk to them about your body because they're your parents and they care. So luckily, I talked to my parents about the pain a bit, and they were kind of like, well, what do you think it could be? And I said, I really don't know. So I did research. So I researched painful sex, painful periods, and the one thing that kept coming up was endometriosis. Now, I think I'd heard of it once before, but from like a friend, but didn't really know much about it. So I started researching it an awful lot. There's not actually that much stuff out there about endometriosis. Until you start following people on social media and joining groups, you kind of lose the main focus of it. But essentially, the doctor's answers to everything is go on the pill. So I was like, oh, well, it just doesn't seem to be helping. So I went back to the GP and I changed pills again onto Celeste. And the whole thing happened again. We kept trying it. Everything kept getting worse. So then the doctor put me on Gederol. Now that was awful. That was the worst pill I've ever been put on. And they put me on it twice. I had a gap in between, but she went, no, you have to try again. You must. It's going to be amazing for you. And I tried it again and I couldn't even last a week. So I'll go into that again in just a minute. So after I tried that, I went to see a specialist, a gynecologist again, but apparently they were better. It was at a private hospital, but I was seen by the NHS because I don't have the funds to go privately, which I think maybe is why this takes a bit longer, but it's okay because support the NHS. And they basically said, yeah, you should have the coil. So he did an examination and told me that my ovary felt like it was stuck to the side of my uterus, which does make sense because it was on the left and that's where I get a lot of my pain. So he then suggested to go on the coil, well, to have the coil. And at first I said no. I left it a few more months and then I went back and I said, okay, fine, because I couldn't bear the pain anymore. So now I'm just going to quickly go through the side effects of the pills, the combined pills, and then we'll go through all the others. And I will do another video specifically based on endometriosis because, again, I think these videos are helpful. I'm not trying to be any kind of famous YouTuber or anything. I just think that they're helpful videos to listen to people's experiences of. So I'm going to go in first with Levest, Celeste and low estrogen. Now I remember all of the side effects being the same for those. So I had really low sex drive. I basically just didn't want to have sex, which was a bit stupid because it's contraception. So it does annoy me a bit that it makes you not want to have sex, because I guess that's contraception in itself. My boobs grew, which for me was lovely. I have complete flat chest and I'm really self-conscious about that. So it was really nice to have some boobs. It reduced the hair loss on my head and the hair growth on my body. It did manage that, which for me, it wasn't like the major thing, but it was okay. My acne also cleared up while I was on them. So it helps with all my polycystic ovary syndrome side effects, basically, apart from the cysts. The cysts stayed there, but they don't really cause me issues, so that was kind of okay. I had regular bleeds and I was able to not bleed if I needed to do something, so taking a pill back to back, that was positive. And I had less painful periods, which was obviously a relief. But I had IBS quite badly on them. I think it's linked to the psychological effects that they had on me. Like, I did have more anxiety, but I'm anxious anyway all the time, so it wasn't a huge deal. But also I did have painful sex. It didn't make that go away at all, which I think is important to mention. So that was those ones. And then Gederol. I think I'm saying that right. It might be Gederol, but G-E-D. So, Gederol. Again, it's a combined pill. So my side effects of that were severe low mood and anxiety. When I say that, I literally couldn't stop crying. I didn't know why. I just wanted to sit and curl up in a ball. I was really depressed on it from the minute I started taking it to as soon as I stopped, and 3 days later. It was awful. I have never felt that low in my life. It was an awful feeling. I had a really bad pelvic pain and cramps on it. Not just womanly cramps, but also like gas pains. I couldn't eat. It was just a horrible feeling. So that obviously flared up my IBS as well, really bad IBS on it. No sex drive. It was awful. Now, for some people, obviously, I'm sure it's fine, but for me, it was not good, and they made me try it twice. And I know I could have said no, but I was desperate to try something. It was not good at all. So I will never take that one ever again. Yeah, that was my experience with it. Not good. And then finally, a few months after that, I had the coil. So for the coil insertion, I had it done at the private hospital, again, on the NHS, but in their hospital. It was a BMI hospital. I had local anaesthetic, which I didn't really want because I thought, well, that's going to be painful, you know, being jabbed down there. But he said because I haven't had children and because I'm young, then it would be more painful without it. So I said, okay, fine. So I went with my boyfriend to get it done, and it was horrific. It was so painful. The injections were really bad. And then they had my legs up in those things and they strapped them in, and I got this man's face like hovering around my vagina and this other man holding my hand. Now, I don't have a problem with men doing this, but there was like no ladies around to like feel the pain I was going through. So it was really difficult, and I just couldn't stop crying. And as he put it in, I just can't explain the pain. He had to dilate my cervix, and it was so bad, so painful. I would never have that done again. It was so bad. So after the painful insertion, I had really bad cramps. So I was crying, I took painkillers, I had a heating pad, I had a TENS machine, I had everything that I could use to just try and make the pain go away. And it didn't really. And I got home and I kind of felt a bit better, so I thought, oh, maybe I'll go for a little walk. Maybe that'll be good. Not a good idea. Oh my God, I haven't had cramps that bad after that walk in my life. But then after that, like for a few weeks, I would say 2 to 3 weeks, I did have cramps every day. Cramps and spotting. And I was like, okay, well, maybe it will go away. So after 3 weeks or so, the cramps, to the extent they were, did settle down a bit, but the spotting didn't. So we avoided like sex during that time because I thought, well, it's going to be painful. But then it got round to it, it's like, well, I kind of have a sex drive, which was amazing because all the other contraception took my sex drive away completely. But this was like, yeah, I have a sex drive and I'm protected, which is great. So I was kind of all right. So I think we got back round to that. This was in lockdown as well. So this is obviously this year. So I had it put in March the 11th or the 12th. And then lockdown happened a couple of weeks later. So yeah, we were in lockdown. I had the coil, blah, blah, blah. So I think about 4 weeks in was when I started getting this weird feeling. I felt infected. I had these cramps and I was like, something feels wrong. So I got a swab done and they still didn't tell me what was wrong, but it was to do with when I had the coil put in. So I have a feeling it could have been like pelvic inflammatory disease, but again, I'm a Googler, so it might not have been. But something was upset in that region and they put me on antibiotics, which was not a nice experience. I couldn't eat anything. IBS was awful. It was not fun, didn't enjoy that, but we were in lockdown, so luckily I didn't have to work through it. So after that, it kind of was, I thought it was okay. I was going for runs, working out, doing my glutes and all of that, and I was getting really bad cramps, but I thought, oh, this is just endometriosis. And then I was like, but hang on, I don't think I had this before I had the coil. And every time I went for a run, like I was doing 5k runs, I'd had to come back and do like half an hour of yoga to stretch out my abdominal muscles because they were like felt really tight and crampy. And I was like, hang on, could this be the coil causing this pain, like when I'm exercising and stuff? And I was having really painful sex, like much more painful than I'd had before, but I couldn't really remember that because it's hard, like, especially because my brain's a bit all over the place, but we'll do another video on that. So yeah, I was having all this pain and I kind of thought, I don't like it. So I gave it, I think, 4.5 months, nearly 5 months, and they say to give it 6 months. So I was almost there. So I thought, I got to get it out. Now I'm quite rash with these things. If I want to stop a pill, I'll just stop it. I won't like go to the doctor and ask them if I can stop it. It's my body and I want to take this out. I was like, no, this is not right for me. I know it's not right for me. I must get it out. So we were all in the middle of a pandemic and I'm trying to get a coil removed. So I called up lots of people and I was turned down by every single one of them. My GP said they're not doing it. The A&E said they wouldn't do it. I called all the sexual health clinics which were open, but they were like, no, we're not doing coils. And I said, yeah, but this thing is stuck inside me. It's not like the pill that I can stop taking. I can't take this out myself. They recommend you not to take it out yourself. So I didn't because I'm not stupid. So I was there panicking. I was told by a doctor that, you know, is the pain bad enough to risk giving her and all her staff COVID-19? Which I thought was rude. So I was like, why are you threatening me? Because obviously I didn't have COVID-19. So, and I'm going to make a mention here that I did work in a GP practice until March this year for over a year. So I know how hard it can be working for the NHS, but it's not good to tell people that, especially if they want something removed from them like that. So I ended up having to call 111, which was suggested by my GP practice. So I called 111 and they got me booked into a urgent care centre, and I had a male nurse practitioner and a male GP. The male nurse practitioner was training and he was like, well, I've never done a coil before. So I was kind of like a show and tell. So the doctor showed the nurse practitioner how to do it and had a couple of other people in watching as well, which was fine by me. Like I don't mind. No pain on removal, which was such a relief. I literally coughed and they pulled it out and he showed it to me and it's bigger than I thought. Like thinking that thing was in me makes me feel weird. So anyway, I was glad to have that out. I had some bleeding for about a week after it. But I was happy. It was gone. We were all good. So then I spoke to a GP I worked with back in the day. I did a shift with them during lockdown and they recommended desogestrel. So that's the mini pill. So that's progesterone only. I can't say progesterone. Progesterone? Yeah, but it's like the synthetic kind. So it's a bit different. But she recommended this. She said, you know, it's going to be really good. It's got a big window because with the mini pill, you have to take it at the same time every day. But with desogestrel, you can take it within 12 hours. So that's a bit better. She really highly recommended it. So I thought, well, I think the hormones in the coil were okay with me. So maybe this will be okay because they're the same. So I got the pill. I started taking it straight away. I had the worst nausea. I took it in the morning as I normally would. So I got up, went to the toilet, took my pill, went downstairs, felt really sick. I went back to do another shift and I spoke to the doctor about this and she said, oh yeah, take it on a full stomach. And that's something that's not in the instructions. So I would recommend to do that, take it on a full stomach because it does make you nauseous if you take it on an empty stomach. She also said take it at night. So I thought, okay, take it at night. I've never done that with a pill before, but I did. I just took it at night. So the one thing I'll mention with take it at night is I forgot to take it a couple of times. I found it easier to remember to take it in the morning. Now I've got issues with my memory and organisation and neurodiverse brain, so it is hard for me to remember these things. But that was something that was a bit bad for me, forgetting pills. The other things I had was I had no sex drive, which was sad. After getting it back, after all those years, it went away again. I also got really bad acne all over my chin and on my forehead. And this time I was more self-conscious about it. I don't know if it's because I'm older, you know, I'm 24, so It was like, you got acne as an adult. But yeah, acne. My IBS was really bad. I had nausea. I had spotting the whole time I was on it, and I had irregular bleeds. So I think I bled on like day 15 or something weird like that. And then I bled again. So I was like, do you know what? I'm done with this. I'm so done. I'm just coming off again. So I'm now contraceptive free again, back on the condoms. But I just felt like I couldn't do it. You know, I'm booked in for surgery next year for my endometriosis. I just thought I can't. I can't deal with these feelings in my body anymore. So after coming off that pill, I've had severe IBS. So bad. Every single morning I'm going like 3 to 5 times. It's not fun, but I'm hoping it will settle down. I have a feeling it's to do with hormones. So just remember that when changing pills, that there's other things in your body that can change, and things can be disrupted. So yeah, they were all my pills and coils and things that I've tried. I also had the implant in the middle of all of that, but I forget what the side effects were, and I only had it for about 3 months, so we'll just move over that one. So yeah, I've tried quite a lot of things. I'm now going contraceptive free. I'm using natural cycles with the thermometer. I'm not going to rely on it for contraception because I just don't know how reliable it is, and I'm going to uni for 5 years now, so I don't really want to have a baby. But I'm just using it to track my cycle and to be a bit more knowledgeable of when things happen, because obviously with polycystic ovaries, things are a little bit all over the place. So I just thought I'd make a quick note at the end of this video to say what it's like for me when I don't have contraception. And this is someone who has endometriosis and polycystic ovaries, so these are the things that I have and I suffer with. So very painful periods to the extent where I literally can't carry on anymore. Awful. Head hair loss, so from my head I lose a lot of hair, and body hair growth, which is fantastic, isn't it? A really hairy face, but I don't really care too much about that. Weight gain, but for me that's a positive thing because I'm skinny, I'm very slim, I'm not comfortable being this slim. I've always wanted to be a little bit squishier, so for me it's been positive gaining that little bit of weight, as it has been in the past. Spots as well, but only really like when I have a period. I get spots like the week before. They're quite bad. They're usually all around my mouth and my chin, but I know that it's not going to be constant. Irregular periods, so I think I kind of have a period every 2 months, but again, that's very vague. It can kind of do what it wants to do, but that's sort of what I've noticed from them. But I feel really good in myself. I feel like Naona again, which is great because that's who I am. I have a moderate sex drive, so I don't have a high sex drive naturally. My mind is far too busy to think about sex that much, but it is moderate, it is normal for me, and that's okay. Yeah, fine. And the only other negative I'd mention is using condoms. I just don't like them. That's a personal thing. I tried lots of different types. We used the skin ones. He doesn't really like them either, but you know, we have to use them. We don't want a little baby at the moment, so yeah, we're using those, which is fine. So all in all, I've had ups and downs with contraception. I think it's better for me, who I am, to go contraception free, but you know, everyone is different. Some people are great on contraception, so listen to your doctors, but also do your research. Watch loads of these videos. There's loads of lovely ladies out there, and also if you do have endometriosis or polycystic ovaries, there's loads of Facebook groups. I've joined the ones in the UK. For me are best because you don't get like, it's different in America and around the world, and they use different terms and they have different health systems. So for me it's easier to use the UK ones because we use the NHS, so it's easier to understand like the health system and language that's used. But those groups are amazing, and I really appreciate all the female power that we get with them, and just sticking together and trying to be positive. So yeah, that's that. I will do a few more videos just because, again, I just think these are really helpful for people. So I really hope that this has been helpful for you. Please let me know. Let me know if also there's any other questions you have, and I'll be happy to respond. I'll put my Instagram below, which is my endometriosis Instagram. I don't use it that much, but I share certain things that I use, like BU period patches, for example. Game changer. So I post all of that stuff on there. Again, I'm no Instagram famous YouTube vlogger kind of person. I'm literally just a massage therapist from London, but I just want to express this and how I feel, and we can all talk about it together, because I just think that's really nice. So have a lovely day, and I hope all of this information is helpful, and just know that you will make the right decision, whatever that may be. You know your body better than anyone else does, so don't let anyone try and take over. You're in charge of your health. You make the decisions, do your research, watch your videos, and good luck. Thank you.